I have spent millions of dollars over the past 5 years helping over 70 e-commerce clients in every single industry and every single continent scale using Facebook ads. And with those millions that I've spent helping my clients scale, I've developed a very unique method that I'm about to show you on how to run meta ads effectively. Now, if you've never run ads or you've run ads but you're not satisfied with how it's going, or you're just kind of confused about all of these changes that you see on the platform and you just can't keep up with them, by the end of this video, you're going to be able to run ads effectively and you're going to have a full understanding of what it takes to succeed on the platform. We're going to go through everything from the bare basics to actually publishing your campaigns in the most efficient way to position your business for success on the platform. Let's get straight to it.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go through the entire process from literally landing into the ads manager and you potentially not even knowing what you're looking at to launching your first ad campaign and being comfortable with how things are on the platform, right? So in this video, like I said, we're going to start with the assumption that you already have a Facebook page, you already have an Instagram account or an Instagram business account, and you've already created your business manager and your ad accounts. Now, what you want to make sure you have is you go into the business settings and you click on the gear icon that you see here on the bottom left, and you want to make sure that your ad account is connected to your pixel or your data set, which is connected obviously to your Shopify account. And you want to make sure that every single page you're going to run ads from is connected to the ad account that you want to run ads from. The other policy that we also have and we put in place for every single one of our clients is you always want to max out the amount of ad accounts that you create. Okay, so if Meta allows you to create 10, you create 10. If Meta allows you to create 5, you create 5. So that's an insurance policy. Let's say, God forbid, something happens on the ad account and you get banned or it gets disabled. Well, you have backups that you can run ads from. It's convenient when that happens. But what you need to understand is that this is the headquarters of your decision making. So essentially what you want to do once you land here is you want to make sure to click on create to create your first campaign. We're going to be talking about e-commerce here. So if you're selling a product, you never want to select a different objective than sales. The only thing you should be optimizing for is sales, because the campaign objective is essentially the marketing vector that you give the algorithm for it to go get you what you ask for. So if you ask for traffic, you are going to get cheap traffic. You're going to get cheap clicks. And what a lot of people think is, hey, let me game the system. Let me actually ask for traffic. And since my product is so awesome, I'm going to get cheap clicks. I'm going to get a lot of people on the website and people are going to end up buying, and I can kind of circumvent the process and get cheap sales. Well, that's very intuitive, but it never works, right? Because the reason why is because Facebook has compartmentalized every single user in buckets. So you've got people that are only going to get you views on your ads. That's awareness. You've got people that are going to only view your website. That's traffic. You've got people that only engage with your ads. That's their specialty and they only do that. That's your engagement campaign. The leads, this is for if you're selling a service or some kind of in-person event that you want to fill out. That's what you do. App promotions, same thing here. This is for SaaS or for apps. And then sales, these are people that are most likely to purchase a product from an ad. So we never want to game the system. We always want to go with the sales. And that's because the machine is going to optimize based on our objective. So let's go ahead, create our first campaign here. All right, cool. Here, what you want to call it is, you want to call it something that reminds you about what the campaign is about. So that could be a different naming convention, one advertiser to the other. Typically what we like to do is, OGL, Ober's Labs. We like to do testing, for example, for testing campaign 1, for example. And then here, what we want to do, this you don't touch because it's already optimized. And then here, what you want to do is you want to select the budget strategy that you're going to follow with your campaign. Now here, what you need to think about is, are you going to give Facebook or Meta the ultimate control, which is essentially having multiple ad sets, and we're going to see what an ad set is, or essentially giving Facebook or Meta the freedom to allocate the budget to where it sees the best opportunities are. Otherwise, if you want more control, that means your ad set budget is going to be your strategy. Your ad set budget strategy is going to be a strategy where you distribute your budget equally. that's actually a good preface for us to go back one step and to define the three core components of a Facebook ads campaign. The first one is your campaign, like we said, and that's going to be the hosting entity of your ads. Your ad sets are going to be the different audiences or the different targeting options that you have within that campaign. So within a campaign, you can have one ad set that targets women that are aged 25 to 65 plus. And then on the flip side, you can have another ad set that targets men in a different age category. And within those ad sets, you're going to have multiple ads or one ad, depending on your strategy. And we're going to discuss that in a few minutes, right? So first of all, you've got your campaign. Then you've got different targeting options that you have, right? And then inside those targeting options, you've got multiple ads. So it kind of does a pyramid, if you will, right? So here, what you want to understand is that if you say that your budget strategy is going to be a campaign budget or a CBO, then Facebook is going to distribute your budget unequally. So it's going to distribute your budget where it thinks it's going to perform the best. So ad set number one might get the majority of sales, and ad set number two might get like 2%, 5%, 10% of the spend, right? So when you're ready to give more control to Facebook, what happens is you've already defined what winners are within your creatives, within your targeting options, etc., which means you've already probably done a round of testing to identify the winners. And in this case, if you're doing ad set budget, it means you want to retain some of that control so that you can test more variables equally to see which one performs the best. So typically, step number one is to always start with an ad set budget strategy because it's going to allow you to spend equally. So it's kind of isolating a variable where your budget is not going to be a variable. It's going to be a constant, and you're going to be testing equally different hypotheses that you have within your advertising strategy to identify which one works the best. Because if you're spending 95% of your budget on one variable and 5% on another variable, is it really a fair test? So that's why we always do ad set budget optimization when it comes to the budget strategy. If you're running ads on e-commerce, you're probably not going to be toggling any of those special ad categories. And then here, let's go to ad set. So your ad set is where your targeting is hosted. So here it could be, for example, broad, let's call it broad, 18 plus, male. Okay. Here we're going to go with website. Here, you always want to toggle maximize the number of conversions. I know some people that like to do maximize value of conversions. That never worked with us. So we always do maximize the number of conversions. In 99% of cases, you don't have to go with anything else. Never do these are useless. Just always do the first one. Okay, your conversion goals. So you want the maximum amount or the volume of conversions every single day. You select your data set. And then your conversion event is where you want to be very, very, very intentional. So here, you always want to make sure, obviously, that you have your conversions API set up. And then you want to avoid one of the main mistakes that a lot of people make, especially with a new account or an account that isn't optimized properly, is they say, hey, you know what? Let me actually season my pixel and I'm going to start with view content. And this is where you're sending traffic and you're optimizing for people to view your products, right? So looking at the product page, for example, or in some cases, they might say, hey, I'm optimizing for add to cart, right? I want the most add to carts, and then I'm going to go to checkout, and then I'm going to optimize purchases. Otherwise, I'm just being too ambitious, right? From optimizing for purchases directly. Well, that's a major, major mistake because again, whatever input you give, whatever setting you're toggling in these settings, you are literally setting the marketing vector, the direction that the algorithm is going to take with your ads. So if you're setting it into an add to cart direction, you're probably not going to be getting any purchases, right? And if you're optimizing your pixel with, I would say, low-level metrics that aren't bringing money into your bank account, then it's going to be very hard to reverse that optimization that you just did and ask it for purchases, right away, right? So it's kind of counterproductive. I can see the thought process behind it. Again, very intuitive, but it doesn't work. So here, what you're doing is you need to think about all of this setting up as a parent educating their children. You want to give the right settings from the start. You don't want to be giving your children different rules on a Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday, on Saturday. Like it won't make sense. It's not consistent. Here, it's the same thing. We want to set the algorithm in a certain direction and we want to stick with it. We only want purchases. We don't care about add to carts and all that stuff because if you're getting purchases, you're most likely also getting add to carts. So we always select purchase. And these are very, very important, I would say, advertising philosophical paradigms, if you will, right? Because there's a lot of fluff online And, a lot of people just like to talk about, Meta like they're the masters of it, but they're just saying stuff that just doesn't make sense. And it speaks about their lack of experience. But again, that's not your problem because you're watching this video. And hopefully by the end of this video, you're going to have an expert level understanding of what Meta ads are and how to run them effectively. So essentially, like I said, conversion event, you always want to select the action you want to see. If you're selling a product, it's purchase. Daily budget, what I like to do is I want to allocate a maximum of $25 per day per ad set. And the ad set is only going to have one ad in it because I'm testing multiple variables and I want to test them efficiently, first of all, but fairly. So let's say we put it at 20. That's fine. We go here. Then what we want to do is we always want to go to further limit the reach of your ads. So here you're going to see that you have Advantage Plus on them. And this is basically Meta's way of kind of taking all the control from you and just doing everything for you. Okay, it sounds good. It sounds fun. It sounds very efficient and less of a puzzle to solve. It's not the right way if you don't have winners already, right? In some cases, we do it and we do it with accounts that are already scaling. But if you're just starting out or you're testing or you've been running ads the wrong way and now you're starting to set up your ads correctly, never do that. So we always click on further the reach. We do switch setup. And then here, you're going to have the classic audiences. So the next thing you want to take a look at is the location. You always want to do one country per campaign. Never do bulk targeting with multiple countries. It never works. The age, we always do 1865 plus. Unless it's required by the product. So if the product is 21 plus, where it's strictly for a specific demographic, which is like elderly people or like pregnant women or whatever. So unless the product is very, very specific, so for a category, a specific demographic, we always let the age 1865 plus. Gender, again, if it's strictly for men or strictly for women, then we select one or the other. Otherwise, we just leave it all genders. Custom audiences, these are, and we're going to talk about it in a second, but these are your retargeting audiences or audiences that you've imported from a customer list, for example, or different data sources. Detail targeting, we never ever use interests anymore. It doesn't work anymore. Languages, we do English all. And then you've got your placements. So again, depending on the ads, depending on what we're doing, we never do auto placements. So here, we'll basically go here. We'll do, for example, if it's a feeds ad, we'll do this, we'll toggle this out, boom, and boom, okay? Because we found if you're only running square ads and you're also running it to stories, it just doesn't look good. If you're a user on the other end of the spectrum, you don't like how it looks, so you don't click, you don't engage with it. All right, so now this is placements. Essentially, for the placements, you always want to do auto placements unless you're only running a single placement per ad or brand set, if you will. If you're doing for whatever reason, broad 18 plus male feeds only, then you'll go here and then, no, not here, placement controls, and then you'll toggle off the stories formats, all of these different formats, and you'll only leave the feeds here. For most of the cases, it's not how you should do it, but for some accounts, we do it that way, so that it really depends. It doesn't really affect the performance of the ads. It's more of a preference. All right, so let's recap here. Essentially, we've built our first ad set. So essentially, this is where it posts the targeting that you're going to be doing, as well as the budget allocation. So it's very, very simple. Next, what you want to do is you move to your ad. And this is where you're going to set up your ad, and you're going to set up the visual, the copy, etc., etc. So here, you're going to be selecting your Facebook page, your Instagram account, okay? And then typically what you're going to be doing, unless you have already winning ads, so you have like 5 ads or 6 ads or 3, 4 ads, whatever the number is that you know work, in that case, you're going to create flexible ads because that's going to allow you to upload up to 10 pieces of content or 10 creatives. And it's going to allow the algorithm to have more variety and just distribute the ads effectively. If you do not know your winners yet, which is the majority of advertisers, that were starting out, you're going to do single image or video. And like we said, you're going to keep one ad per ad set. Please, this is very important. I see a lot of people, they just start testing multiple ads in one ad set, and it just doesn't tell them anything. Like, even if they have sales and they're getting good results, how do you know which ad actually performed? Well, you don't. So this is why you want to have one ad per ad set. Okay, it's very, very important. Here is where you're going to input your website or your landing page. Typically, it's going to be your product page. We rarely send people to home pages or other pages, the product page. Here, you don't care about that. So set up your creative. You're going to click here, click on image ad if it's an image ad, or click on video if it's a video. And then here on the creative setup, you're going to go next. you're going to choose your media, and then you're going to click on prop, and then here, like I said, and so here, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be replacing this creative with the correct size here. So essentially, you're going to have the right format for your square placement and your vertical placement. Okay, we click on next, and this is where you're going to input your primary text. So this is your body copy 1. We always do a second one. So body copy 2. You're going to add headline 1 and then headline 2. Those are going to be your 2 options. And then you're always going to want to go with shop now. Cool. So you go next, skip this, and then all these enhancements, we just like to toggle them off. These are good. Okay. Enhance CTA and then text improvement. Oops. Done. Cool. Now you've created your first ad. So we go back, and then if you have the budget for it, you go and you create different ad sets. Okay. So here it's going to allow you to, for example, do female. And then you're just going to scroll down. I'm doing it a bit fast, but here you're going to go with woman, for example. All right. Here it's going to allow you to toggle this or not, use as a suggestion. You always want to keep this off. Because if you tell them to use it as a suggestion, they're never going to use it. Right? You're just going to show your ad to everyone, and that's not what you want, right? Otherwise, you just toggle all, right? So here, something to not worry about is this campaign score that drops. I have not seen it correlate to a lower performance yet, but this is meant to scare you, right? Because as an advertiser, if you see a score of 77, you might say, hey, like I might not get the performance that I want, right? So let me just follow the instructions of Meta and get to 100 as fast as possible. Well, you're just going to end up using an Advantage Plus campaign or, something like that. So I don't want you to worry about this too much. You should always go with the right settings, which is the ones being taught in this video, to make sure that you have the right settings for a testing campaign. It's very, very important. Don't get scared by this number. Okay. So let's say this is your first campaign. You're going to click on publish. I'm going to start publishing the campaign essentially. And you're going to start seeing some results once your campaign gets approved and your ads get approved. You're going to see some results. Now, how you're going to see this, I'm going to just put it here. Yeah, so this is the default view that you're going to have. And we have a custom one that we built on every single account that we manage. But essentially, this is the custom view that you're going to be seeing. And it really doesn't tell you anything. I just never liked this at all, right? So I want you to really set up your columns in a way that actually shows you what's going on in the funnel. It's very important that you view it as a funnel. I'm going to teach you exactly how to do it. You click on customize columns, and then you get rid of everything here. So delivery, let's get rid of this. We'll just get rid of everything just for demonstration purposes. And then I want you to think, what is the first metric that you want to see? Well, it's the actual impression. That is how many people saw your ad. So here, you're going to go into impressions. And then the impressions aren't individual impressions. They're actually the amount of times your ad got shown to people. And it might be twice to a certain person, 3 times to another person, etc., etc. So if you want the individual amount of people that saw your ads, you're going to go with reach. So here, and then you also want to know what Facebook is charging you for the ads, which is your CPM, the average cost for 1,000 impressions. We can put this here. And then after someone sees your ad, well, the first action they may take is a click. But you're not interested in every single click. You're interested in clicks that are actually link clicks. So here we're going to toggle the link clicks, and then we want to know the rate at which people click on the ad, which is your CTR. But it's not any CTR. I don't want you clicking on this. I want you clicking on the link click-through rate. That's the one you want to be clicking at. That's the one you want to be clicking on. Now, after the link click happens, what happens on your product page? Well, potentially people will view the content. So content views, which is just scrolling on the page. And then potentially they will add to cart. And that gives you the amount of add to carts they want. And then potentially they'll check out and then they'll purchase. Right? You see how everything just falls into place like a funnel. Right? So you'll click on purchases. Here you'll also click on value and cost. You want to know your cost per purchase and then your conversion value. And then the ROAS. And then you also want to know how much you spent. So amount spent. Okay. Save as preset. Test, save, and then boom. Here you have a full view of what's going on in your campaign. So at a glance, you're able to see how many people you reached, the link clicks, until the purchases and the amount spent. It's a very effective way to see everything. And it allows you to, at a glance, know exactly the health of any given campaign and to take action immediately and effectively. So now that we have our first campaign running, I want you to also understand some preliminary steps that you should take before you hit publish. First things first, you do need to make sure that you have a data set that is connected to your Shopify, that is also connected and active on Meta. And the integration is made with the conversions APIs you can see here and the Meta Pixel. Here on the settings, you want to click here, and then you want to scroll a bit down here, and you want to check here where it says automatic website matching. You want to click on it. You want to make sure everything is toggled on. And then you want to scroll a bit more, and you want to click on conversions API gateway, and you want to do a setup through a partner integration. Choose a partner, click on Shopify. It's going to show you. And then you basically make sure that you also have it on Shopify with the maximum settings toggled on. And this part of your business manager, you can find it here where it says Events Manager. If you click on All Tools, you go to Advertise, and it's the last one. If you want to go to your Ads Manager, you go here. You click on this one here. But the next step for us is to go to Audiences. So again, All Tools, Advertise, Audiences. It'll take you here. And this is where you're able to create audiences that you want to target that are custom to your business. So typically what you want to do is you want to click here, click on custom, and you want to check the source of your data. Where is it coming from? Is it a customer list? Is it a website? Are these in Meta sources? So for example, Instagram accounts, Facebook pages, video views, whatever the case may be, right? So let's say it's a website. Since you have a pixel installed on your website, you're going to have basically the events, right? There are going to be different types of events. You're either going to be capturing every single website visitor for this specific date range, or you're going to tell Meta, hey, I only need my add to carts here. I only need the add to carts for the past 14 days. That's going to be my audience that I want to build. You can refine it more and then you name it. So ATC 14 days, right? And then boom, create audience. If you want to do purchases for the past 30 days, you can. If you want to do all website visitors, you can as well. All right, so it depends on your strategy. Let's go back. Let's say you have a customer list or an email list. You go here, next, you want to add the list, the CSV, right? And then it's going to ask you to match the columns. Once you matched all the columns, so the columns could be the phone number, the address, the value that they spent with you, their name, their first name, last name, their country, their zip code, all of these informations, all of that information, you're going to match it to a certain variable that Meta is going to give you. And that's going to allow you to match the columns and match these users to users on the platform. Now, if you want to do something else, you could with videos. So you go to videos, choose engagement type. Typically, what I recommend is people who have viewed at least 95% of your video, boom. And then it's going to allow you to select the videos that you want to use as a source. And then the retention. So is it 180 days, 365 days, whatever the case may be. And this is going to be video views, 95%, 365 days. For example, if you want to do it with the Instagram, you can. So for example, everyone who engaged with this professional account, anyone who visited, you can be a little bit more, precise here. But essentially that's the one we always use. We call it Instagram engagers. That's how we do it. You can do the same thing with Facebook. And these are your custom audiences. And I always recommend that you do it because these are audiences that Meta keeps in their database and they use as sources, especially the customer sources. So if you import all of your customers into Meta, it's going to act as a database of your customers, going to help them actually know what customers you want, right, in your business. And it's going to allow them to give you better customers and serve your ads to users that kind of match your customers, right? So it's very important that you do it here. And that's how you should run your Meta ads in the most effective way possible. Now, this is by no means the only strategy that works. It's the strategy that we've developed over the past 5 years, spending tens of millions of dollars on Meta ads and just distilling all of the insights that we've been able to capture over the past 5 years into a master strategy that we just keep on replicating, right? So I'm offering it to you for free, offering it to you on the silver platter, but this took a lot of time to develop and a lot of time to come to this simple framework that we just replicate for any brand in every single industry that we touch, in every single market that we touch as well. So hopefully this was of value to you. Again, if you're in the e-commerce
e-commerce business that's making at least $20,000 per month. We want to help you grow to 7 figures, and we've got the results to back up our claims. So if you're interested in growth and you've been looking for a growth partner that is actually going to care for your business and actually going to help you, let's talk and build you a roadmap that you're going to be able to follow in the next few weeks, in the next few months, and let's show you what's possible for your e-commerce business. Again, if you're making at least 20K per month, book a call with myself and the team. Otherwise, if you're here for the pre-value, drop me a like, a comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.